Okay, good morning, ma'am and sir. Good morning, sa tanan. Good morning. Morning po. Good morning. Um, good morning. Nakapamahaw na ba tanan? Hopefully. Basta mga passport ani ha. Inon, pwede mo magsima-sima da samtang namina, no? Samtang namina, pwede mo magsima-sima magkaon. Okay, pero wait, kasi naka-download or kasi nakakita sa video, ma-download siya. Itong gipasa na ko sa Google Classroom. Ma-download. Ay, screenshot mo. Dili ma-download. Sa. Mahang siya. So, dili siya ma-fully download, Sir Edwin. Ha, okay. Ah, naka-download ka, Sir Vincent. Oo. Mhm. So, successful ang download mo, Sir Vincent, ng Sir Richie. Successful ang download. Na, nasa Google Classroom naka-drive actually siya, no? I-link nyo. Kindly see the announcement sa Google Classroom, no? Na dito ang kuan na. Since bukat magod siya, automatic siya ibutang siya sa Google Drive, no? Then, of course, na may link dito sa Google Drive, pwede nyo ma-access to, no? But, so far, si Sir Edwin pa lang ang naka-try og download. Pero according to Sir Edwin, makat ang ihang download time sa bitawag ano sa term lana, no? Maputol, no? So in short, dili siya ma-fully download, no? At the middle siguro yes, bukat, no? It's 1.7 ang second video, ang first video kay 1.9 gig, no? So video mo gud siya, no? So matamahin mo na. Uh, sa cellphone to. I see. How about sa laptop? Kasi naka-try, gawa sa Sir Edwin nga nag-try og download sa laptop, using laptop, of course. Kay the same with kung isend ako siya sa kuan sa tagani sa email, automatically Google Drive man niya kay since bugat ang file ba. So i-link niya po sa Google Drive nako, no. So in short, pag i-open niyo ang file sa Google Drive mo nako yes, dito mo mag-download, no. But gitry na ko gahapon pag tan-aw na ko, no. Di siya ma-play ang video sa online, but you need to download it first before you can access or you can play, no. So ulay option i-download gyud siya daan usa siya matanawon, but so far wa pa man nakatry gawas kan Sir Edwin, then kan Sir Edwin ako dan Sir Edwin sa kung man daw siya nakatry sa cellphone. Let us say can you try sa laptop, especially for those who are interested, of course, no. If you want to personal copy and probe itong ma-review ninyo ang discussion kagahapon, no. Pwede niyo i-try, no. So siguro kung makato mo eskwelahan kung nahapog ko magdala ta og kuan flash drive o USB, pwede ikuan copy siya, no, i-send to or i-copy sa USB. But so far i-try sa to nato, no, kay basi pwede ra di ay di nga tuon, no, i-download lang nato sa tong laptop especially kasi makaya. Yes, no? Dili siya ma-open. Dili nimo ma-view siya nga normally bitaw YouTube ito kay click nimo ma-view nimo dito. So, kung i-post siya sa YouTube, let me try, no? Let me try kung namo tay Google account, mo ko nakatry mo ko post dati sa video sa YouTube. Sige, i-try na ko YouTube, i-try na ko upload sa YouTube kay mas dali ang sa YouTube po noon. Then tagaan lang ta mo link if di gyud siya mag-workout sa katong case, no. Pwede na po nato na to. Mas accessible pa, mas dali pa, no? So I will try later. I will try later to upload it in the YouTube. Then let us see, no, what we can do afterwards. Okay? So kato lang sa gawas ato. Ano naman to nangayo, no? Si Ma'am kasi ito nangayo la kagahapon. I don't know kung na view ba ni Ma'am. Kasi ito si Ma'am. Yes, si Ma'am Milan, si Ma'am Milan dire karon. Ma'am Milan, ay na ba si Ma'am Milan? Wala na si Ma'am Milan, no? Okay. So nangaitis mamanin mo lang ka og link, then I told her nga nasa ko ano nasa Google Drive. I don't know kung na-try ba niya og upload ay download rather ang video. Okay, so that's for the video. Sige, try to rato option, second option kung dili jud. Lisod jud siya ikuan. I will try to upload it in the YouTube na lang. Di jud makita sa Google Classroom. Dili jud makita. I don't know what happened. Sige. Sige. Let's talk about it later lang about sa Google Classroom. Okay, so far, no, may mga reflections or pangutana before we start another lesson. Especially with regards to our yesterday's discussion about ethics. We discussed about the ethics, definition of ethics, morality, of course, and what is all about ethics, and we know that it's about the morality of human act. Focus is on morality of human act, judging whether a certain human act is good or bad. So muna yung focus, and we also learned the modifiers of human act. So there are 3 elements of human act. Kung sa itong 3 elements of human act, there should be knowledge, freedom, and voluntariness. Okay, so if the actions have these 3 elements, automatically pwede siya scrutinize or evaluate through ethical standards or ethics, no? Sa module mo gud na ano, I'm bothered in sa module kay gibutang example dito about moral dilemma ba, talking about moral dilemma kay I scan the module last week katong this week pero dili gahapon, no? I scanned the module and there's something bothering me, especially with regards to moral dilemma. Because moral dilemma, let me explain it a little bit. Moral dilemma becomes only, we know what is dilemma, no? Dilemma means something that we are confronted with 2 options or more. Lisod at pili, that's dilemma. Now, when we attach the term moral, it should be now with regards to concerns of 2 choices with regards to, in connection to what is the right choice and the wrong choice with regards to the goodness or badness of the act. And that's the time we become moral dilemma. For instance, about pagpangawat, wala ko example ha, tagatang moral dilemma. This would be example for moral dilemma. Wako'y kwarta, nasakit akong ginikanan. Or let us say, akong anak, eskwela na, wako'y kwarta. Option ako is pwede kong mangawat. Mangawat ko dili. That would be a moral dilemma. That can be a moral dilemma, no? Whether you steal for money or not, no? Although having that good intention, anyway, that's given, no? Let us say sa katong case, that becomes a moral dilemma. Pero dili tanang choices that we are confronted of 2 choices, automatically it becomes moral dilemma. Okay, for instance, answer ko sa kong assignment daily, I don't think so it's a moral dilemma, no? I believe there's no connection with regards to the goodness or the badness of the act, no? Ano kay ko is katong about your grade, but with regards to the goodness or badness of the act, no, mura siya neutral siya in the sense, no? For instance, another question is gipost mo ko dito, ang nakabother ko sa module is katong gipost mo ko dito, asa mas nauna ang chicken or ang itlog, ay mo nga ano rag itlog, no, it is a dilemma, but more on about the truth. It's not about the goodness or badness of the choices. So technically speaking, it cannot be called a moral dilemma. It's a truth dilemma. That's the right thing, no? It's a truth dilemma. What comes first? Because we are looking for the truth, no? What comes first is it the hen or the egg, no? But it's not a moral dilemma because if you read the module pagabot sa moral dilemma dito nga case, mabasahan to ninyo, no? Gihimo siyang example, which is for me it's a bad example. It's not a moral dilemma, but technically speaking it's a truth dilemma. Okay, because the question is more concerned about the truth rather than what is good and bad. Okay, so klaro ba, ma'am and sir? Klaro ba? So it's easy to kuan dilemma as I've told you, the term dilemma when we are confronted with two choices or two options and nalibog to sa pilyo, that becomes a dilemma. But if you attach the term moral, it becomes only a moral dilemma when we are confronted with the question about what is the moral or good decision based on ethics, of course, so let us say, and what would be the wrong choice if that is the case ba. So for example, ito mga ipang-example na to last time, ito about robbery, so ang choices, ano, isa ang pinaka-best or isa ang pinaka-good action, katong nga to, no? Katong about sa katong kitigbas, katigulang, it can be, no? Those are moral dilemmas, of course. So, examples, no? So, dili tanang dilemma can be categorized as moral dilemma, ha? Basta, kataka lang mo daw, I mean, we use the term incorrectly, no? Okay. So, mga to, no, that there are three elements of human act. There should be knowledge, freedom, voluntariness. And afterwards, we discuss about modifiers of human act. When we see modifiers, that's something that change the quality of the human act, katong freedom, no, katong pwede ma-increase. Due to these modifiers, our culpability or accountability might increase, lessen, or kanang destroyed based on those circumstances that we mentioned last time with regards to ignorance. Kung na ignorance dahil nga kalakbit ang usa ka action, pwede day ma-lessen or pwede day ma-increase ato ang accountability, no? Passion, fear, violence, and habit, no? So those are basic modifiers of human act that may modify our human act, no? And of course, ang ending po na, ang outcome po na is it may also differ our accountability and moral liability. Okay, based on those modifiers. So dili siya automatic nangati ka same na mo tanan. Bisig unsa na ka bisig unsa yung situation, bisig unsa ang circumstances, dili siya ngana, no? Pwede siya ma-lessen, kay full accountability, pwede mo increase mo accountability, pwede mo ba-destroy, no, based on the modifiers as we mentioned last time, no? So those are the things that we've discussed so far. So do you have questions, clarifications on those things? Wala na. Okay, so can we continue? Okay, sige. Our next topic would be, katutong ipang discuss gahapon, dili pa tumaw ang basihan sa tama ug mali, ha? Okay? Wala pa tayo nga, sa uso may guidelines karon sa pagtawag og tama ug mali. Ang katong modifiers, dili tumaw. I mean, wala to yung maka-change, pero dili tumaw ang guidelines. Nga makaingon ta nga tama ug mali ato ang action. Okay? So dili pa tumaw ang guidelines sa mo to mga circumstances, no? But it's not the guidelines or to rule of law, no, nga sundon nga mo susunod 1.1 pangani automatic mali ano. Wala pa ta nag-discuss properly ana, no? So today we will discuss what would be the basis of our moral judgment. Okay? What would be the basis nga ngano ang pagpangawat mali man? Unsay rason? Unsa may kuan na principle regarding ana dayon, no? I mean, what makes it wrong? Okay. Katumang modifiers of human act, dili mo to maka-answer. Action, freedom, dito sila maka-answer, no? So there should be the basis. And the question would be, what would be the basis for our moral judgment now? Then, Sir Kit ba to? Katong, how about 10 Commandments, sir? Is that would be our basis of our moral judgment? For those who are Christians, I said, maybe yes, no, for the Christians. But for our sake, dili siya mao. What do you think? What would your preliminary reflection? What do you think would be the basis now for our moral judgment? Kung makaingon ta nga kani siya tama, kani siya mali. What would be the source now of our judgment as our reference? For instance, sa tuwang kuan, natay balaod about helmet, about traffic light. Kanang kamali ang kaingon man si officer nga mali ko nga iwa ko nagsuot og helmet kay naman sa balaod, no, itong basihan ng balaod. In our case, what would be the basis of the moral judgment? Kaingon ka mali ko. Sige daw tagay daw ko kuan. Asa man na makita? Asa man basa ato ana, no? Usay basihan in short. So anyone who wants to answer or guess somehow what would be the basis of our moral judgment as our reference, judging whether it's right or wrong, our actions? ang common manunaan is ang religion. Yes, Sir Rodolfo. Yes, Sir Rodolfo. What do you think, Sir Rodolfo? Okay. Talking about Ten Commandments, okay? Because the Ten Commandments is, mura man ko siya absolute law that, of course, it's God that forbids us, no? Somehow. No? It's absolute law somehow, okay? As I told you. But the question will be, thou shall not kill. If we have a chance to ask God, somehow, what makes killing a bad thing or a wrong thing? Did you wonder that? Why is it that way? Gawa sa maingon nga mo nagingon gani, okay, mo lagi giningon lagi. Pero what makes it wrong? Thou shall not kill. So dito patay. What makes it wrong? What makes killing wrong at the first place, by the way? What's the reason? There should be a reason somehow. And what do you think is the reason? Oh, kanala ba to? Yan, ano lang. Sige, isip-isip sa daw according to Sir Klimkit. Isip-isip. Yes, Ma'am Karisma. You want to answer, Ma'am Karisma? Emotions. Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Karisma. So, para ka Ma'am Karisma, ang emotions daw ay basihan. Okay, let us see later whether it's really the emotions would be the basis for our moral judgment. No? Judging a certain action is good or bad. These emotions. Sige. How about others? Sige, isip-isip. Unsa kay ko ano? Because when we taught our children, when we teach our children, anak kaya mo na, ipagi mo na, bawal ang mga ating ka, masungo si God. Mo ginay rason, masuko si God. But the first place, what makes lying wrong? Ano ba? So may rational, no? Rational reason behind that action nga wrong. Bro, mag-isisitanan sa Ginoo kasi giyon sa to. But of course, because of our faith, we give so much faith and trust sa usay ang giingon tama jud na, but given the chance that we try to ask and challenge the notion of that one, what would be the rational answer, no? That we can think of course. Open, no? Domingo ba ya karon? Domingo ba ya karon? No? Dali kay mingon lagi nga mo man giingon sa Ginoo, lagi man lagi giingon sa Ginoo lagi, no? Pero as a rational being, because we are a rational being, we cannot but also ask the reason. Anong mali man jud? What makes it wrong? Sige. Napatay 2 minutes before mag 8:30. Sip-isip. Sir Vincent, man Sir Vincent kay okay na yung camera. Sige sir, please sir. Yes sir. Then, unsa na ko pagkabalo karon nga tama yung giingon nimo or mali? Unsay basihan ako? Kung ako ang mag-judge, unsay basihan ako? Unsay basihan ako? Example, pagpatay sir, kana lang pagpatay. Ano kapatay ko? O nganong kaingon mo ka nga mali ang pagpatay? Yung sa Ginoo. Unsa may rason ana? Nganong gibawal man sa Ginoo? Sounds like that ba? Unsa may rason sa Ginoo nganong gibawal ang iyang pagpatay? Unsa rin sa pagpatay? Nganong mali man gyud siya at the first place, ana ba? Gawas ana sir. Kung i-challenge nato, unsa ko say reason behind nganong gibawal ka sa Ginoo? Oh. Mangutan na tong anak to. Sige si Ma'am. Ay okay. Si Ma'am Hilda then Sir Raymond. Okay. Si Ma'am Hilda. Okay. Let us hear Ma'am Hilda. Yes, Ma'am Hilda. What do you think, Ma'am Hilda? Mm. Effect sa nabuhat. So kung wala effect, neutral ang action. Okay. Tagado yung example, ma'am. What if vote buying, ha? Ano lang, hindi lang vote buying. Let us say, anak ko estudyante, gwapa kayo na ba? Gwapa ba siya estudyante pa? Then, through my actions, I do good things externally, showing kindness. Pero intentionally, at the back of my mind, ako intention dahil kay malicious. Naday masamang balak ba? Then, you are talking about the outcome. Of course, makita nimo sa gawas, maayo kung buhat, di ba? Ang outcome kay good. Pangpaghatag, sa po, manghatag ko siya, manghatag ko siya o mapagkaon, ko siya pagkaon, tagal siya akong grade. Good, di ba? What if ako intention kay Nere Malaysia? Bantay lang gini niya. Ano ba? Oh. Sumay ko na to na, ma'am. Kasala, kung sa kuwan ba, to religion na po, kasala ta sa nahuna. Sin ba adog hapon na at the same case. No? So, thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. Externally speaking, maay kay kapang tagad, pero naday kay pagnanasa sa imong silingan. I believe it's also a sin at the same case. How about the Pamilda? Pamilda ta din kang Sir Raymond. Because, of course, no, it's an open debate by the way. No? So, I am trying to challenge your beliefs, no? Then, of course, at the same time, learning it by questioning ourselves also. No? So, what if nga na Mamilda, ang outcome kay good, pero ang intention niya kay mali, so okay ra, bahala na kay malicious intention as long as good. And that would be the basis, ang outcome. Masking na ay malicious intention. Ay. Klaro na ko ha, balik ko na to ha. Ang pangutana is, unsay basihan karon sa tama o mali? And Ma'am Hilda answered, kindly correct me ma'am kung mali pa ako magsabot ma'am. Ma'am Hilda answered that ang basihan sa action na tama o mali should be the outcome. So ang pasabot ba, kung ang outcome sa action, automatically, that would be the basis nga makaingon ta, tama or moral ang yang gihimo. Tama ba ma'am? Ingat yung pagsabot ma'am no? I mean, ang challenge karon, what if lagi tama ako ang outcome externally speaking? Tama. Pero at the back of my mind, hindi ko malicious intention. Malicious intention ba kanami tong nga pero naday suppose nang libak na day ayo nga case ba? At in our mind level, gipatay na din nato siya. Pero sa externally, gibuhi na to siya, I mean, nanghatag na siya. Pero sa at the back of the mind, gusto rin ito siya pati. Yun nga na case ba? Kaya kung, if we will follow that kind of argument, that the outcome should be the basis now for our moral judgment, sa ato pa, whether you have a good intentions or malicious intentions, it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is the outcome. Ingato ni ma'am. But, the question will be, ingan ba? Dili ba natin i-consider itong intention? Or ihaging sa nato na? Okay, sige ma'am. Ma'am RR, what do you think Ma'am RR? Then Sir Raymond kayo, lahat mo na ka Sir Raymond. I-follow up no kayo ni-follow. Mm-hmm. So dili magmatter in short, dili magmatter ang nasa imong huna sa imong action. Dili siya magmatter. Ang magmatter jud ang action. So That would be okay. So as long as the action is good, then it's moral. That would be the basis. Kung ang action niya, ang resulta sa action kay bad, automatically that's immoral. Kay bad man ang result. Bragdola na. Okay, sige. Leave it. Okay, so we will leave it that way. No? So, according to Ma'am Hilda, the outcome should be the basis for our moral judgment. If the outcome is good, then the action is good. If the outcome is bad, then the action is bad. Okay. Thank you very much, Ma'am Hilda. Outcome-based, Ma'am Hilda. No? Outcome-based. Okay, how about Sir Raymond? Ano si Sir Raymond? Yes, Sir Raymond. Okay, mubalik mo to sa question mo god. What makes it a sin? Gawas sa it's against the Ten Commandments, no? Kung say rason nga nung salaan na siya at the first place, no? Maligid siya. Okay, sige. So, burag nahangin gyapon si Sir Raymond, in my perspective, burag nahangin gyapon si Sir Raymond sa what would be the reason behind sa batas. Naalala ito nga case. Okay, thank you very much, Sir Raymond. Okay, kisa mo ito isa. Napunta isa mo, nag-raise hand guy na. Si Sir Raymond Perez ba to, if I'm not mistaken? Sir Perez, do you want to answer, Sir Perez? Ay, murag ko ang answer. Okay, how about Sir Vincent? Yung murag, mansira si Sir Vincent. Okay, take two. Sige, Sir Vincent. Okay. What if, dili siya on the act of self-defense? Kaya yung pagpatay bitaw, dili siya on the act of self-defense. Kaya nagituyo dyan mo magpatay. Trip lang nimo. Trip lang nimo magpatay. Lata say, dili sa on the act of self-defense. Oh, yes, sir. How about dili on the act of self-defense, sir? Because you are talking about killing kay na on the act of self-defense. How about dili on the act of self-defense? Kanang gituyo jud niyang patay. Unsa man gyud siya? Tama or mali? Ita say mali. Kanong mali man jud? Unsay rason? Anong di man makatarunganon? Kanay mong term, sir. No? Anong di man makatarunganon? Asa siya, okay, supak. Asa siya nagsupak? Gawa sa Ten Commandments. Kang ma'am kuan, kang mamahinay ba to? About, supak siya about on the principle of life. Then, kanay vague po kayo on the right to live, no? On the right to life. Ibuta na to sa tawag ano sa UNESCO, no? The right to life. Sige. UN, no? UN. So, usa may basihan anang kana lang. Usa may basihan anang principle the right to life or the right to live. Automatic ba may tag right to life, automatic ba nga okay na kay karapatan mabuhi? Okay, pero sige basihan nimo ano koy karapatan ani in the first place. Unsay source ani? Sounds like that ba? Golden rule. Okay, let us read some of the comments, no? Um, okay. Sige. Wala dyan lagi. Okay. Kang Ma'am Ria, Ma'am Beling, for me, it depends to the rules and regulations of the situation. Pero unsa ka, same question, no? What would be the basis of the rules and regulation? From Mama Adele, sir, by listening to our conscience. I'll talk about conscience later on, no? Sige. I will leave it, okay? Ma-discuss man na siya, technically speaking. Pero murag mali jud ang pagpatay, kabalo jud ta nga bawal jud mo patay. Kaya ang Ginoo nagpahiram sa atong kinabuhi. That's from Ma'am Jemar Mahinay, no? Yes. From Sir Richie, lisod unsay basihan, sir? Isip-isip sa ra siya. Sir Nasol, Sir Royce. Ay, nalit na si sir. Kang Sir Claim Kit, Golden Rule. So, safe sabot sa Golden Rule na ito, sir. Sala jud ang mopatay sir kay ang Ginoo man ang nagpahiraw sa atong kinabuhi. Siya ra pod ang mukuha ani. Okay? Kang Ma'am Gemma, dili jud makaturuan ang pagpatay sir kay dili jud dagaan lang itaga wala ta kitaga katungod nga mopatay. Kinsay nag-ingon nga wa ta kitaga katungod. I mean usatong basihan so like that. Balik kami sa question. Dili pod sa law sir. Unsa nga law? Sir Richie. Okay. So, ingana no? Because we are very of course no, we are religious somehow. Um Given our history and our culture, we are tend to explain things based on our religious inclination. But mo gyapon tong loophole no. With regards to this one, mayon ta sa tong anak or sa tuang amigo, bay mali lagi nang pagpatay bay. No, ngano mali man tagay dako rason kay mo lagi na giingon sa Ginoo. Ya kung may giingon sa Ginoo, so may gimahiya sa giingon sa Ginoo nga mali jud pagpatay. The first place. What if ako mituog Ginoo? So okay ra mo patay kay ako mituog Ginoo. Does it mean that I am exempted to the rule because I am not a believer of your God? So dili siya applicable sa uban. So sa uban, ang dili mo tuog Ginoo, okay sila mo patay. But the question is, unsa man jud? What would be the Yes, Sir Edwin. Yes, ano na Sir Edwin? Yes, Sir Edwin. Good morning, Sir Edwin. Mm. Okay, so well, if I sum up, ang giingon ni Sir Edwin is that first, na human law, okay, na human law na siya. Then afterwards, besides that, it's a commandment given by God, no? But on my case, the missing link still persistent. The missing link would be, for instance, in the human law, what is the reason pagabot sa balaod? Kailangan maka-argumento isuporta nga makaingon kag tama ning desisyon. No? Then what would be the argument no saying that it's wrong? No? Then with regards to the Ten Commandments, ang missing link lagi gihapon mo ng question no. Why is it that God commandment this way? Of course, no. We are not challenging but we are trying to ask the question, no. We are trying to raise the question, what makes it wrong from the first place, no? I mean, let us say, but to curiosity, um, what would be, no? Okay, sige. So, I know it's hard. I know it's hard, especially it's not common. I mean, it's not a common question that we encounter every now and then. That when someone asks about us the okay mali ko pero ngano kamali ka ingon sa Ginoo nya ko kumito Ginoo nga case ba no? I mean, maungot ta no. I mean pero di siya ingon for me ha dili siya ingon nga because it's very subjective. Your judgment now is very subjective. I'm looking for objective but that's in English. I'm looking for an objective uh, answer. Because what you should answer is based on your belief. What if I don't believe in God? So, do I am exempted to that rule because I am not part of your religion somehow? Nga na nga case ba? Na loophole, no? That's why, yes, ethics, muna ang ethics, as I told you last time, yes, yesterday, that the rulings or the principles that governs ethics is not actually based on religion, no? And of course, how do we come up, sir, nga natin, how do we know nga mo na siyang tama o mali, sir? Nabay somehow tablet nga nakita or kisabay na may supreme being nga nagsulat sa maog yun na. No, it's not like that. It's based on our actually our capacity to reflect. It's based on our capacity to reflect, observation also, and in our history. And later on, I will try to know, no, what are the observations that commonly appear throughout the history that bisig kung saon nimo dili jud ka kagawas bitaw. I mean, facticity ba? We call that the reality that bisig kung saon nimo mo ginay iyang design, the grand design. And that's why we are talking about the norms of morality. This would be the basis now on our concern, to judge whether a certain act is morally right or morally wrong. Okay? Okay, so let's discuss it one by one. Then, later on, along the discussions, hopefully we can answer those questions, no? That, especially the question that we raised a while ago. And let us see, no, whether it answers our questions, no? Kung po ko na to, mga ito mong, hopefully mansira itong pangutana. And hopefully, we realize that more likely, it's legitimate somehow like that. No? Okay. So when we say norm, we are on the norms of morality, by the way. When we say norm, it's the criteria of judgment. Magkatang mutana sa inyo kayo na, no? Kata about killing. Also may criteria na to na nga nakaingon ta siyang mali. Majority of you answer that it's based on God. But is that answer suffice and can explain everything? No? Amo nang question ng paggabol nga na, no, it's a personal belief. It's subjective judgment. It's based on your faith. What if I don't believe in God? Ano siya? As why, what we are trying to establish on this one is that we are trying to discuss the criteria of judgment of morality, of what makes our action right and wrong. Okay? And yes, so definitely when we defined norms of morality, according to Montemayor, it's the standard of right and wrong. Muna kung ipangita kayo na, no? What would be the standard regardless of our race, of our religion, our faith? There should be standard that is applicable to all. And these are the things that we are going to, that we are trying to discuss. Okay? And, okay. Diretso ta. Now, here is the answer of our questions actually. What would be the criteria, what would be the basis of our moral judgment now? Okay? There are three: eternal law, natural law, and conscience. These are the three things that we are going to discuss today. No? More likely, half of our discussion. No? Hopefully, we can go to another topic also. No? Kasi kayo nag-conscience. Si Ma'am Okay, basta natin answer kayo na nga, sir, based on, di si Kuan, mamahina ito, if I'm not mistaken, no? As Ma'am Adele, oh, yes, no? Siya na yung about conscience, but the question is, ang conscience ba nga ginamin ni Ma'am Adele o ang conscience nga, the thing that we are going to discuss today is the same. Muna yung pangutan na karon, no? That's the missing link, no? The gap. Ang pagsabot mo to sa conscience based sa religion o sa conscience nga ginaingon diri is the same. There's a gap. Okay? Okay, so let's go, no? So this would be the basis of our moral judgment. Eternal law, natural law, and conscience. Kani gired na ko ni siya. Gired na ko ni siya. Because ang supreme being manggod siya pumufeel sa gap later on sa about sa order and so on so on. No? In some katong mga naay religious inclination nga mga ethics nga libro, sometimes gina open close parenthesis nila ning the God who created all creatures. I will try to discuss this one later on, no? Nganong pasangin lang gihapon lang si God somehow. No? I mean, nganong nag-originate gihapon ni God. That's why I make it red because technically speaking, um pag kanimo ko paibutan nimo ni siya kaning God nga term, um basi ma-faultas into subjective judgment, no? Then what we are trying to do baya is looking for a universal standard that is applicable to all, no, regardless of our race, our religion, no. So then butag God wala bro, there's something subjective na. That's why I put it in red to explain it further later nganong no. Okay. So nga ni ang kuan, no? Kani. So eternal law is the ultimate normality, remote, proximate. Buro siya nga ni kung tanawon mo. Don't mind this kaning divine law o human law. Don't mind it. Ang pasabot lang aning sa proximate, ultimate, proximate o remote is that eternal law mo ang pinaka-umbrella. Ang sulod sa umbrella, bro bitaw i-pyramid nato siya, inverted ha, baliktad nga pyramid. Eternal law ang pinakataas sa inverted pyramid. Then more specific sa eternal law natin ginatawag na natural law. And to be more specific natin ginatawag ang conscience. But of course, the natural law and conscience is actually based from eternal law. Okay? So, buro siya inverted pyramid. Buro bitaw siya, yes, no? And, as I've told you, as we've discussed last time, that this concept of goodness and badness of an action is only applicable to man, by the way. That's why, kaning conscience is about siya sa very specific and specifically only refers to human act. Okay? So, nga na to siya pag-explain ha. Okay? So, hopefully you follow. Nasabtan ba so far? Before we... Okay. Sige. Of course, we're familiar with the term law. Okay. When we say law, it refers to a rule or norm which governs in nation of law, no, in our discussion, refers to the rule or law that governs the nature and or actions of things. For instance, I will give you a law, no, under eternal law. No? For instance, kanang death. Karabitang world. Ang concept mo sa eternal law is the concept of the order of things in the universe. The grand design, they call it the grand design. Gi-highlight gyud po kung God kay lagi no tong sa mga author gina-appeal man ko nilang kaning God nga concept, no. But let's try to define it without quote unquote using the God term, no? Ang concept mo sa eternal is that ato ang kalibutan mo as we observe human in history and today using our rationality. Take note ha, we are only arriving this kind of standard or criteria of ethics or morality based on our capacity to think, based on our reflection of what's happening around us. And we observation plus our thinking, analysis, using our rationality, we observe that in the world, that in the universe, there is order. Na-follow ba? There's order. For instance, in our solar system, if you think it carefully, no, we find order somehow. No, ngano ang 9 planets or 8 planets mag-revolve man yun nga. There's a certain way nga path or nga sila magtuyok. And why is it that it keeps for billions of years? There should be order. There should be a design. Kung sa computer ba, bro, default system. Okay? Kung sa computer ba nga, mo nang naka-design. So, na ito na. Nga nang sila mag-design. That's how we ordered things. That's how the things are ordered. About gravity. Ano may gravity? Ano naman? About law of... Sounds like that. So, all the things that we observe in the universe, based on analysis, there should be an existing order. There should be an existing system that keeps this universe go on. Okay? Nakuha ba na? Okay? So from that point, if there is an order or a system that the universe established from the very beginning without our wala tay choice but naa naman siya at the end, no? Disorder and things. Hence it becomes now, buta na sa conclusion na. Hence it can become a criteria or judgment of our morality, judging whether our actions is good or bad based on this natural order that our world or that our universe established from the very beginning. Ingan ang concept sa eternal law. Again, going back to about conscience law, about our nature as man. So to ba, sir, in short, ang basihan karon sa tama o mali, sir, should be based on the natural order of the universe. And how we know that there's a natural order of the universe? Based on observation and analysis. Example, ang tao, pag mabuhi, mamatay yun siya. Ingana yun ang order, sir. Ingana yun. So, ano natin na? I mean, ingana nga mga cases ba? Okay? Then, how about our instinct, urge? So, nga namang, because in sa Bisaya nga term, bro, malasway sana malasura kay sa tingnan. The term uwag, but of course it is urge. Kana bitong ngano may innate desire ang tao, sir, nga makig-copulate or makig-sex. Ingana gyud atong nature, sir. Ingana gyud, because if you go into science also, that's our part of our bodily makeup, that when we reach a certain age, that the level of hormones also will increase, but also connecting with our sexual desire. So, ano ingana magyud, sir? Sounds like that. And these natural orders that we observe in the universe, and specifically in man, becomes now our criteria for judging whether a certain action is good or bad. Then, yung ko gaya na, diba, mayon ko nga, sir, nga nung may God's grand design, dito mo balik ka to. Okay na i-order. Ang another question mo, okay, kasi naghatag sa order. That's why some author would attribute it to supreme being, dili lang pangalan God, technically speaking, the same. That's why they call it supreme being sometimes. They call it supreme being. In dili sa religious aspect, in scholarly writing, normally they use the term supreme being rather than God. Okay? They use the term supreme being. A being, okay, God, that put it from first place. So that would be the basis now of our morality, based on our rationality. Of course, there's a question whether God exists or not, that's another story. But what we observe, what is clear to us, whether God exists or not, what is clear to us, that this universe, there is a certain order, system that governs these whole things. And we are part, and we are included, part of this, on that system. We cannot, but we also follow that kind of system or order. Example, dili ta mabuhi, dili ta mukaon. Ngano ingana man yun, sir? Dili ta mabuhi, wala oxygen. Ngano ingana man yun from the very beginning? Wala mo doubt, ana. Ang answer would be, that's the order. That's the design. Kung sa computer pa, that's how my computer design. So, may muna, pag i-click nimo ang turn off yun na siya. Because that's how it designed from the very beginning. Sa ito pa, magtama o mali atong gibuhat, ibutan sa computer, mag-error siya, di ba? Tik. Ganong error man, ganong error ako ang system. Kay ngano, mali imong gibuhat. The same with our moral judgment, that would be. Ganong nakaingon tag mali itong gibuhat because it's not on the order of things that we observe from the universe and we observe on our nature as man. Of course, I will go to the specific later on. What I'm trying to discuss is the general thing, no? How to come up with those very specific things. No? The same with computers. I've told you that when we click something that is not in consonance with the system itself in the computer, mo notify siya nga error. The same with morality. Why we judge things as bad things? Because it's not in the order of things from the very beginning. As man, especially. Wala siya sa tuang order of things as man. Klaro ba, ma'am, answer? Then of course we'll go to the detail. What are now the orders of things gawa sa universe, but specifically to man, that governs our decision in judging a certain action, it's whether good is bad. Nga na siya pa doon. Okay, so klaro ba, ma'am and sir? About the others, klaro ba? Before I proceed. Okay, so that is why, katuingon ko kayo na nga about sa religion, about the Ten Commandments, mo to ang vague. Example, thou shalt not kill. Ngano ang killing mali man? If I answer it based sa atong discussion so far, because it's against on the natural order of things, especially on man. That about life ba, that we were born, when we were born, we have that kind of inherent, sometimes they use the term inherent, no? Inherent right to live primarily. And naturally, we should be dead according to our, example, masakit ta, ano ba? Natural order po dapat tong kayo. Dili kay patyon ta sa na ay third party. Nga na ang ihang instances. No? In man. It should not be on the third party, especially kung tao ang mapatay. No? We should be dead based on our natural order. Should be, example, sa sakit, sa aksidente, but man should not interfere with man's life in that sense. Nga na ang case niya. Okay, so let me proceed. Hopefully, it will enlighten us later. No? Okay? So, matong yung no, that the eternal law refers to a law that extends to all acts and movements in the universe with regards to orders of things in the universe. Earth, of course, appeal man ta ng universe, appeal ta riha. No? Example, thus bodies obey tendencies of their nature and follow the law of cohesion. For example, the gravity, the inertia. Okay? For instance, in the larger scale, in the larger scope of things. Okay? So now in short, we can observe not only in man, but also even in the universe, even in Earth, we can observe that there are certain things that follows a certain order, a certain semblance of design. Mano itong ginaingon. Na natural tendency ba? Okay? Na natural tendency. That, for instance, the law of gravity, pag it's kuan, because of the law of gravity, nag-yung tendency mo baba, yun siya. Anak bitaw. No? Without hindrance, naturally. Mababa, yun siya. Kanong nga naman gano'n? Mao order. That's how our system works. That's how the universe works at the first place. Yung nga na yung pag-explain. So, that's why, makating kayo na, diba? It becomes now the ultimate and absolute norm of morality. What may ultimate and absolute? It should be now the ultimate basis of our moral judgment. Okay? It should be now the... okay, here's a question from Sir Rodolfo. So we decide that what is good or bad based on our observation and capable to think? Yes, sir. Then later on, based on our capacity to think, to reason out, na-specify na, napanganlan na, kung sa itong mga mali nga butang. Okay? Buro bitaw, okay, muna itong basyan. Then later on, okay. We come to the point nga, okay, based on these arguments, ang kaning mga specific actions, mali din siya. Nganong mali maning mga specific action? Kay tungod kay naglabag ni siya sa natural order. Ingana siya. No? Yes, Sir Rodolfo. No? So, based on our observation, analysis, and later on, we come up with the conclusion, therefore, kani siya kay mali, kay tungod kay balik sa larger principle. So, that is why, it's independent of any standard there is, especially religion. And this is viewed as objective. Why man sir objective siya? What do you know kagaya bitaw that? Regardless of our nationality, regardless of our race, regardless of our faith, since we are man, we are actually under this kind of rule or law of the universe. So in short, it's objective to us. It's universal to all of us. Without exemption. As long as tao ka, part na ka nga kuan, you're under in this kind of rule or law that is governed by our universe or the order of things. Yes, that's the right thing, but mo na ginakuan nga. Maganda that's why in the climate change in environmental philosophy, normally ang ginagamit ng argument nganong mali man ang pag-destroy sa butang sa tuang nature. Why? Mo lagi na balik ka sa order of things. That if you look at the earth using our trees, there should be balance. It becomes immoral now when you imbalance the balance. Example, nanay human intervention, instead nga balance ato ang climate, gi-disrupt imo ang system, naghimo from the very beginning sa ato ang universe na dili himo da dili si universe ang himo, but buta nato yung ana daan no na inherit na sa system. Kung utuloy mo ang system, it becomes now immoral. Kung sa to ba sir, kung i-destroy nimo ang balance sa universe or sa earth, talking about climate change because of the human intervention, nanay moral liability karon ng tao sir kung i-destroy niya ang balance or harmony sa earth nga normally unta dili ta maka-experience climate change. Technically speaking, yes, that would be one of the argument nganong nagapush ang kuan nga mali ang deforestation, nganong mali ang kanang kaingin. Why? You are using but too much distraction. Nganong mali ang pagdinamita, ngano man, no? You can cut it in natural way, but your action destroys other things in highly, in terms of magnitude, mas dako ang destruction. Ingana nga case ba? Then the balance of course will be disrupted. And of course, mo tayo about sa natural order. That's why ending climate change. Kung hunaon mo, no, that is why in the order of things, the same with our computer. Pag mag-error tong computer, mangitag yun na siya og solution nga, oy, adto dito sa support system sa imong company para iayo na, no? So in short, nagyoy tayo bitaw repercussion or bitaw outcome sa itong mga ginahimo, especially when we destroy the order of things, no? And normally, if we destroy something, the order of things, sa karitabukan ha, because we're not yet discussing in the case of human, sa ito nga case, because we're discussing it, the eternal law, nga na mahitabo, no? Climate change, ang kaning weather, dili na predictable, unlike dati, predictable, di ba? Nganong ang weather sir, predictable man sir, asya sa moagi, it's part of the order of things. Then, when you disrupt, because of the human intervention, wala na harmony, i-disrupt nimo ang order sa system, that's the time nga, we call it muna atong mga human activities, about global warming, human activities like kaingin, deforestation, kanang chemical poisoning, it sounds like that, waste, mga chemical waste. Anong issue man kay nasa sir? Why? Because it disrupt the natural order of things. That's why in Kuan, we call it's a bad thing sir. Nganong bad man siya? Because of this thing. O ibutan sa ethics, nganong immoral man siya sir ang pag-ingana sir? Why? Because it disrupts the order of things. Dili nga ang design supposedly. What we are trying to do is we should follow our design, our order. Kung sino naka-system sa to, we should follow it. Once you didn't follow it, that's the time that may error sa system. In our case, ibutan to sa human action, that's the time we call it immoral things. These are the things in the universe are not strictly observed. Okay, klaro ba ang pasabot sa order of things? Nganong pakabot sa environmental ethics, nganong mali man gyud sir ang kaingin, nganong mali man ang illegal logging, kailangan kay putol kag kahoy nga na. Pero yes, that's it. Mo tayo nga it disrupts the order of things. Why is it wrong? Because it disrupts the order of things. That we cannot, but we also face the consequence of that. So what would be the case if we follow the order of things? It will continue the harmony. Peace, order, continue to siya. No? It will last long. Kung dili to i-disrupt ang order of things. So in short, kung i-follow na to sir ang example sir katong about wala dapat illegal mining, illegal logging. Wala tayo global warming karon sir? Technically speaking, yes. Why? Because the earth has its own rule, quote unquote. its own order, na ihil yang kaugalingon. Of course, through our environment, no? So dito ta mag-suffer ta sa global warming in short. That's why global warming is actually is a human cause, no? Dili siya environmental cause, dili siya environment ana. It's a human cause, no? Because of the intervention of man that have experienced global warming, for instance. And technically speaking, it should not be part of the system. It should not be part of the system because way back history, wala mo global warming, dili yan ang design, but okay, human intervention. I believe you get it already, no? So much for that. 9:10. 9:10 na. Magkwanta, mag-break ta 9:30. Okay? Okay ba, Maman Sir? Sige, 9:30. Okay, padayon ba ta? Padayon. Oh, mag-break ta 9:30 ha. 9:30 ang break. So let's continue, no? Bawat 20 minutes. Okay, so let's continue. So that is why, based on those things that we've discussed so far, we conclude that these are the properties of eternal law. That the eternal law is eternal and unchangeable. So, even with our human power, we cannot actually do about it. We cannot do about it. About gravity. So, ano mo, sige daw, i-try daw kuan in our nature about life and death. You cannot change it. Sounds like that, no? So these are some of the properties. Okay? Another thing, it is absolutely universal. So wala exemption ani sir. Sa ba kung ang tao sir na support tao, kung may kinabuhi tao, mamatay gyud po tao sir. May order of things. Wala ba sir, wala exemption ana. Wala exemption. Sounds like that. No? Of course, as I've told you, there's a little bit sa religion, conflict sa religion, but based on our rational observation, analysis, this should be wala exemption. Like butong, at the end of the day, God will judgment. That's another story. It's very that's subjective. What we are looking for is an objective explanation of the things that happen to us. No? So absolutely universal. Regardless of our race, nationality, age, kitang tanan mo experience sa ana. Ito ba sir, tanong tao sir na uwag sir kung muna nakadesign sa So ito ba sir, ang uwag sir technically nga uwag di mali sa di na mali because it's part of our nature actually. That's why ma-connect po na sa question nga about about sa contraception bitaw. Nganong mali man ang contraception sir? Nganong daghan man mo tutulan sir nga immoral na sir? Why? Because pag abot mangod sa order of things, abot sa uwag, natural na uwag. So, natural na yun ang nauwag ka, then nakig-sex ka, mo create kag bata. That's the natural order of things. Natural order sa things ba that, okay, uwag ka karon, nakig-sex ka. Natural order niya, normally, create kag bata. But with the contraception, nakig-sex ka, pero burap to, gi-block nimo ang order of things, amo nang mali na. That's how commonly they argued about the immorality of contraception. Why? Because it disrupt the order of things. There should be that sexual act always leading to procreation. Of course, no go. Yes. No, okay lang ba sir kung mag-sexual act sir niya? Sir, dili ko fertile. Okay na siya. Kay wala man kay sa atong ba kung sa environment wala man kay human intervention para di mo maka-create og bata. It's part of your natural order man. So okay na siya. Pero ang take kag pills kondom nga gidisrupt na nimo ang natural order. That's the time na mamali siya. And that's how the short explanation about contraception, no? Ano mali man contraception sir? Gawas sa ang Ginoo nag-ingon sir nga okay, outside religious explanation, what would be the explanation? This would be the explanation. Another way of explaining it with regards to the issue of contraception especially. Why is it's wrong? Okay? Then next. So, in short, if we follow the order of things, that's morally good act. If we don't follow the order of things, that's why we have the immoral, no? We call it immoral alam, okay? Fundamentally speaking. Okay, so far, dili na about sa kuan, no? About sa natural law, may isa. So mo na yung sa kuan, no? Okay, we are trying to discuss natural law, no? Question so far about sa eternal law. Nasabtan bang eternal law? Kasi pasabot sa eternal law. Ma'am, answer. Okay. So ang law that governs the whole universe, of course, we are part of the universe, parte punta sa eternal law. No? We are covered under eternal law. No? Our actions are actually based on the eternal law. So in short, we follow a certain rule that is more likely given to us by quote unquote by the universe itself. No? I mean, ingana yung pagka-systematize, no? Or ingana yung pagkuan sa system, pag-design sa system. Okay, talking about natural law. Okay, karon when we use the term natural law, it's specific na ta katugay na eternal law mo to ang kinatibuk-an. In relation to man, ang balaod ng gagana-govern sa tua, we call it specifically natural law. Okay? Ang balaod, or I mean, ang design nga gitugot sa tua or naa sa tua, specifically we call it natural law. But of course, kanang natural law atong balaod, atong kuan, atong system, of course we are under the eternal law, ha? Muting yun we are under the eternal law. But to name it, to have a name, specific name for us man, with regards to our nature, with regards to our order of things on man, we call it natural law. So beware when you use the term natural law and laws of nature. Because the laws of nature refers to about hurricane, about gravity. That's it. But when we say natural law, it's specifically the laws that governs human tendency or human nature. So in short, lahi ang meaning sa natural law o laws of nature. Can you think of that? I mean, kindly be aware of that when you use the term natural law and laws of nature. Because when you use the term natural law, you are referring to the nature or laws that governs specifically the human nature. Okay, klaro ba, ma'am and sir? Okay, so klaro? Okay. Now, what are the based on observations that is persistent in the history of mankind, the things that we observe on our nature, closely looking to the nature of man, na makaingon ta nga regardless of your race, regardless of your age, regardless of your religion, naadyo ka ingani nga butang sa imuha. Sounds like that. What are those things? Okay. Let me go to another slide, no? And then mubalik na ani. Okay? First is if I'm not mistaken is self-preservation. Self-preservation. Let us say kung self-preservation ba to? Self-preservation or survival. Okay, mo na yung natural law, no? Yes. What are the natural tendencies of man? Okay, mo na ni karon. Sa ato pa sir, natay ginasunod nga orders for us instance for us man. And we call that natural law, sir. Okay, what are? Okay, we call it natural law. Now, to be specific, unsay ginasunod? Unsay nature nato sir as tao? Okay? Unsa to natural tendency that regardless of our age, nationality, religion, nga naa gyud ingani as long as tao ka. Ingana nga butang ba no? Okay, first. Lagi tama lagi ko. About first is self-preservation and survival. Modo na ang unang nature sa tao. I mean, we are not categorizing it based on importance or random ni siya, no? Sa una is self-preservation and survival. Modo na ang natural gyud sa tao. Pangutana, nganong nakaingon man ta, nganong nakakonclude man ta nga ang self-preservation or survival natural lang na sa tua. Tagay da kog instances makaingon ka nga natural na sa tua. Supposing nga mi agreed na mo sa kong giingon. Supposing nga mi agreed mo sa kong giingon, Bitaw sir, self-preservation sa mga. Okay, utana kung may agree mo. On what instance, kaya give ma an instance or circumstance nga makita nato nga ang tao yun ay naturally na self-preservation or survival nga tendency. Sige daw. Nahilom na po sila. Isip-isip na po tayo, isip-isip. Isip-isip na po. Sige daw. Kindly go back to your experience as man. Pero sa ka makaingon nga, na ako'y default system nga, musukot ko dili. Maningkamot jud akong kaugalingom, sing di na ko pagtugot, musurvive iya, o i-preserve iya lang. Sige daw. Musugot ka or dili, i-preserve akong kaugalingon? Alam, saan, marano? Powerful, like, wala eh. Maningkamot akong kaugalingon o preserve sa iyang kaugalingon. Sige daw. Without our human intervention, without our katawitang freedom, voluntariness, dili mo kagustuhan, pero nga nung, ingana, gina to. Sige daw. Kini, takay daw example. Unsa man yung nasa background nga picture? Hospital medicine. Sige, i-connect daw. Sige. Sige, Sir Rodolfo. Sige. Nana Sir Rodolfo. Sir Rodolfo. Para mabuhi lang ako sa katao. So, brag, sa ato pa, sir, murag bitag, miingon ka nga, murag, gikan sa uyukan sa kong pagkatao, nga ako kasabot nga, nung ingani akong gibati nga, nako'y kagustuhan, mabuhi akong anak. Mahitabuan na. Nga nung, burag desperado kayong tao, no, burag, ganun yan naman, ganun, mawala man na to ang mga kaulaw, mga personal emotion, pag kanina mo, mo ito yung experience, Sir Rodolfo, nga, makaingon lang nga, natural lang yun sa tao, sir, kapag abot ng self-preservation, atong kinabuhi na itong kuan, nang kamot tao, mabuhi, gano'n, burag, kagustuhan, burag, masking gamay lang tulak, burag, muadto na dayon ka, basta kinabuhi na isgutan. Ano po gano? Muna yung ni Sir Rodolfo, natural lang muna sa tao, sir. Naingana siya nga tendency. Kung sa animals pa, burag instinct na sa tao. Burag, sukot ka sa sarili, ingana na siya. May muna yung example na si Sir Rodolfo. How about sistema? Okay, sige. Thank you very much, Sir Rodolfo. How about the others? So, nasudbanin sa inyong kagalingon. When can you sing? Makaingon ka. Okay, si Sir Royce. Yes, Sir Royce. Okay. Nga makaingon man ka nga nice sense of self-preservation survival ana. Pero nagam innate desire to survive, innate desire to live. Okay, sige. Thank you very much, Sir Royce. No? Asul. Okay, how about the others? Okay, si Sir Raymond. Then si Ma'am RR. Okay, Sir Raymond. So, ingana gyud ang tao yun. Ingana yung tao pag masama siya, mangita yun siya o pamaagi nga maayo siya. So, sige. Ma'am RR. Ma'am RR, then si Ma'am Hilda. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am R. Yes, Ma'am Karisma. Yes, I get it. Yes, Ma'am Hilda. Okay. Okay, same. No, almost same. Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am and Sir, no, for actively participating. Uh, ingani siya, no? Missing, okay, simple lang kayo, kanang, lawas lang nato atong tanawon. Tanawon ra da, makabantay mo, masamad ta, natay tambal or wala, muhilom ro siya iyaha. Muayon sa iyaha. Isa ha, balikod ako ha, pag masamad ta, tambala ni Mordili, ato ang body maningkamot mismo, atong body ha, maningkamot mismo og ayuho na siya. Regardless na kaitambal ana or wala. Tinuod dili. So siya muhila siya sir, mupilot na siya sir o pangutana mo god, mobalik sa question. Kana mo pilot mo sa iyana? Isa po na nga proof makaingon ta nga sa ato pa sa atong lawas sir, kita nga tao sir, equipped ta sa self-preservation survival. Sa ato pa sir, makaingon ta nga natural sa to ang nga tao nga magkinaunsa maningkamot ta og self-preservation or survival nga makasurvive. So system na to sa ba? What ay mahimo ana? Nga kay mahimo pag masamad ka, gusto ka mamatay kay masamad ka sa may maningkamot imong lawas og ayo. Gawas lang kung diabetic ka, maayo pero normal imong lawas, maningkamot ta kayo. Muna uban pod. Abot sa ubo, sikon, ay, kuha na, kay natay self-defense ato ang lawas at immune system. Anong iyan ang lawas, no? Because our lawas mismo is naka-design, naka-order in order to survive, to preserve itself. Regardless, kagustuhan mo or dili maayo, maningkamot imong lawas o kayong. In short, nga na ba? So, what ay mabuhat ana, sir? Wala. Mabuhat ana. Example, breathing. In simple breathing, sir, gusto ko mamatay, sir. Okay, ay ginawa. Pero mong lawas, maningkamot o ginawa, no? Naabay naman tayo kay tungod kay gihold day ayang breathing. Di ko magana. I mean, our body itself will function the way it's ordered. And it's ordered based on self-preservation survival. Atong blood circulation, so lawas lang nga lawas, no? Kay kanat nung ipaistoryahan, wala man tay kagawasan ani, wala tay kabubuton ani, wala voluntariness ba. Musugod ka sa dili, ingana gyud resulta sa imong lawas. Muna, in the human history, based on our observation and analysis, we come up with a decision. Ang tao di ay nanay natural tendency, which is true to all people, regardless of our nation, regardless of our faith, nga ato ang lawas kita nga tao natin natural tendency to survive, to preserve ourselves from harm, from danger. Muna pag na-dangerous nga mga butang or mga experience, normally we go, I mean, we leave that place. Why? Because it's dangerous. Nalumos. Naturally, usay human reaction pag gitulak ka din lalom kay tubig hindi ka kabalam-lamoy. Unsay natural reaction sa lawas? Natural reaction ha. Maningkamot og langoy pangutana. During that time, ikaw ba'y nagkuman sa imong lawas nga maningkamot kag langoy? Or without further thinking, without rational thinking, sin may ana ra jud ko kako sir. Abot sila nganong ingato to. Why? Because balik ta sa kuan. Balik ta sa punto. Okay. Therefore, our body is equipped with that kind of order or system that it keeps surviving, preserving. Hence, ibuta to sa killing ha. Ani karon sa killing. Diretso na to before we go to about sa mga specific. Sir, nganong ang killing mali man, sir? Mo ni ang tubag. Why? Kay ang tao, ang order niya mabuhi. Naningkamot yun ang laos niya mabuhi. Nya ikaw noon gipatay noon nimo siya. Unsa may katungod nimo patyon siya? Ngayang lawas kay mo, in the order of things, ang lawas kay mismo nagakip og survive. Nagakip og preservation. That is why, therefore, ang pagpatay, mali. Why? Because it disrupts the order of things sa tao nga imong gipatay. Ibutar to, simple nga na nga butang. I mean, in connection with this preservation and survival. Klaro ba? Okay, Sir Vincent. Nahilom, no? Miyagi, no? Ay, Sir Vincent. Okay. Oh, yan na siya, sir, no? So, pero natural is that's what our human instinct, no? And that's why when we call instinct, it's default system in us. I mean, wala tay kagawasan mong pili. Wala tay kagawasan mong pili na. Ingana na gyud na siya. Mao kay nato yung about sa pagpatay, nganong mali ang pagpatay kay tungod ani gihapon. Because of this reason, very reason, based on the natural ethics, natural law of ethical theory, that why killing is bad, thou shall not kill according ni God. Pero nganong mang mali ang pagpatay? Unsay rason nganong mali ang pagpatay from the first place? Gawas sa giingon sa Ginoo. The reason would be that man, technically speaking, by its nature, is equipped with that survival instinct, self-preservation. Karon, kung patyo nimo siya, ikuhaan mo siya katungod sa iyang kaugaling order. Sa ito pa, in short, gidisrupt nimo ang natural order sa butang. Gidisrupt nimo ang natural order sa tao. And we go back the same with sa nature, tong environmental ethics nga tong gidiscuss gaina about global warming. The same. Why it is wrong? Primarily because you disrupt the natural order of that person. Kuha mo siya katungod nga buhi ang iyang laos gan ang kamot mabuhi siya kay nang kamot mabuhi. So in short, sir, wala kay katungod mo patay. Yes, that's the right thing. I mean, that's the point. That's the point now. That when we disrupt the order of things, for instance, sa kinabuhi sa tao, patin mo siya, automatically that action becomes immoral. Why? Because you do not follow the natural order of things. You disrupt his natural order. What is that natural order or nature? His own tendency to survive, to preserve his life or her life. Mao ni ang rason karon in the ethics, especially in the using the ethical theory, the natural law, nganong mali ang pagpatay. Kay kang sa religion man god, nganong mali ang pagpatay, sir? Kay iyon sa Ginoo, the end. Wala na ilaing pangutana da, sir, mo na ingon sa Ginoo, absolute na. But in our case, there is a certain and very specific reason why is it that it's wrong. Because it disrupts the natural order or our nature as man. Klaro ba? Ma'am and sir? Nansiran ba? Nansiran ba ang katungkuan? Nansira na gyud. Nansira na gyud, no? So, mo na itong basihan karon, no? In general, of course, napamantis sa kato nga. So in short, mo na itong basihan karon sa tama o mali. This would be our criteria o guidelines. The natural order of things. Sa kalibutan, kung about sa tao. And upat man ni sila, isa pa itong na-discuss. Isa pa itong na-discuss. So, napay tulo. So after the break, we'll continue this discussion after the break, no? And hopefully we can answer some of our questions also, no, along the way. So, sige, break ta, balik ta, mga 10 minutes siguro nga break, no? Mga 9:45. 9:45 ta balik. Okay? So, sige. Coffee break. Okay, mahos ha. Okay, mahos ha. Sige, sige.